Good morning. I trust everybody is online and ready to get started. This is Ernie Delgado with Beyond Technology Education. You are here for the Educational Trends and Statistics webinar, which will cover some of the things that we've identified when it comes to technology planning. And that's one of the main areas that we focus our efforts on with schools, is helping them develop technology plans. One of the things that we feel very strongly about, especially with some of the changes taking place in the educational landscape with regards to technology, is that planning has become more important than ever. In order for our schools to remain relevant, we need to be aware of what some of these changes are and start preparing for them if you haven't already prepared for them. Some of the online options, homeschooling options, charter school options, there's a variety of options for families these days. And we need to understand what those options are so that we can make sure we're aware of the best practices and how technology fits into this big thing and helps us really evaluate how to make our schools the best. The second thing that we really feel strongly about is properly planning for technology, which will include properly training your staff, will help them to save the country. We really feel that teachers equipped with the tools that business, industry, 21st century learning requires, all of those tools will really help them improve the educational experience, providing skills with our students for the future, making them better prepared. And this is an amazing opportunity because things are changing rapidly. If you look at some of the variety of the different things that you could control and things that you cannot control at a school, we found consistently there is one factor that makes the biggest difference when it comes to a high-quality technology integrated school. And that's the fact that there's a leader in charge, someone who has gone out, who's done the research, has evaluated the options, someone who's interested in making their school a better place and feels that technology has a role. Well, the fact that you're here listening to this particular webinar, which focuses on planning and technology in schools, means that you might be that person. You're the one that could possibly bring these ideas to your school environment and hopefully takes it to the next level, because at some point in time, I think every school needs to realize that this technology train is not slowing down for anybody. And at some point in time, you need to jump on, and now is that time. We're seeing an incredible increase in technology use at schools and just the technology landscape in general. You could think the smartphone, you could think the social networking tools, you could think the iPad, all of it, you could think digital whiteboards. They've made technology really a forefront and one of the things that most schools think about when they're planning for their schools. And this is a good thing, but we need to really get on board quickly because it's just starting, folks. There's a lot of options coming down the pipe for schools. Now, I did want to point out two main trends, two things we've identified that are really making that really you need to be aware of as you're planning. One of the things we've noticed, and this is really critical, is that technology access at home is exploding. There are more devices in homes. There's more technology use in homes. And I'm not just talking about computers. I'm talking about the televisions, the cars, you know, these smart homes. There's so many amazing things. Now, the fact that your students are accessing technology, this is not the big news. The big news is the fastest growing group of users are adults, ages 36 to 65. And I point this out, this statistic, which is pretty recent, but the reason why this is important or should be important is that this represents most of your teachers. And what we've learned, if I had to say that there's one part of the planning process that is the bottleneck, I'm going to have to tell you that it's your teachers. And this is not a bad thing. This is a realistic understanding that if you have 30, 40, 80 teachers, you have 30, 40, 80 different ability levels, and you're asking them all to use the same tools to be on the same page, understanding how to integrate these amazing devices into the learning environment. Well, for some of them, that's awesome. They're looking forward to it. But for most of your teachers, that is not a very exciting prospect. In fact, some of them are afraid of this trend. But the good news, the opportunity we see is that most teachers are accessing technology at some point. in their personal lives. If they have the smartphone, if they have the iPad, if they have the Facebook, whatever it is, you have that spark of interest. Let's run with that. This is a good thing, folks. This is an amazing thing, because as we sit today, there is still a disconnect between what's happening at home with teachers and what's happening in the classroom. But we can start filling in that disconnect quickly, and we have some ideas on how to do that. Excuse me. The second trend that we've noticed, and unfortunately this is not as positive of a trend, but basically corporate America feels that K-12 education as an industry is not preparing students for the future. In fact, if you look at how other countries are preparing their students, how they're introducing 21st century learning tools, those are important skill sets to be productive and to get higher paying jobs. Well, we're not quite doing a good job there. And there's no quick answer to this. However, I have seen that this is another opportunity. Our goal is not just to help your students to become better learners with technology. Obviously, that's one of the major important factors. They get excited about learning. Yes, this is a great opportunity to give them skills to be better learners, but at the same time, we could give your students skills to be productive into their college careers and into their professional careers. And this is very important, because as a country, we need to focus on the future. How are we preparing kids for the future? Other countries feel that we're weak, and this is their chance to catch up. And I disagree. I think as a nation, we will rise to the occasion. Technology will be part of that. Planning this technology is critical, and all these things need to fall into place in order for the school to become better, for the community to become better, and for our students to have opportunities to really be competitive in the future. Let's talk about those students for a moment. It's interesting how young students are accessing technology these days. You've seen it. You've seen the little kids with the smartphones. You've seen them playing with the tablets and iPads. You see them work with the mouse. Our kids do not know a world without technology. Think about it. When they were born, look at what they had in their environment. So working with students is not the difficult part. In fact, we found 5 years ago, the research was showing that students between the ages of 8 and 18 years old were actually spending 6.5 to 8.5 hours per day, accessing some kind of media. And that we were astounded at how much time they were using technology. While the updated research shows that statistic, students are actually using technology, accessing media, up to 10 hours and 45 minutes, 7 days a week. Now that's a pretty that's a lot of time. that's a lot of time to do something you like, and they're doing all kinds of things with it. So what I did is I drilled down into that number. 10 hours and 45 minutes, really? What are they doing? What I learned is that they're multitasking. So they're doing multiple things at the same time because they can. They have that ability. And I actually saw this in action when I went to visit one of my cousins who lives over in San Pedro, California. He actually goes to a private school there. And I visited him and actually went into his bedroom. He's 12 years old, wanted to see what he was up to. And in there, he's with his buddy and his brother, and they were playing Xbox. So he had Xbox in his room, and it was on his beautiful, 30-inch plasma television. He had a wireless headset with a microphone, similar to what I'm using right now talking to you, but he was talking to someone in Germany who he was playing with on the Xbox. He had a wireless Xbox controller. He had his iPod Touch playing in the corner, a podcast or a playlist that he had downloaded from the internet. Next to him on his bed was his smartphone, and he had a text message conversation going on with someone else. In the corner was his computer, where I saw he was doing homework also earlier in the day. So I look at this, and I'm like, wow, look what this 12-year-old kid has in his bedroom. This is a very complex technology environment. He had to pair those devices wirelessly. He had to hook up that television using an HDMI cable. He had to wirelessly connect his iPod and computer to the home network, which obviously had a home modem and access to a high-speed line. This is amazing in his bedroom. This is the complex environments our kids are multitasking with. Now, I'm not pointing this out for you in particular, but in general, oftentimes students have these complex environments, then they go to school, and there's nothing like that for them. They don't have access to these tools, these these tools that they've learned how to use, these learning tools in some cases. So it's just an interesting example of the fact that devices are coming into our homes, into our students and teachers' lives more than ever. Every morning, part of my job, I've been running Beyond Technology for 10 years. I've been in this industry for 20 years, helping schools understand and use technology effectively and creating plans to help them do that. Every morning I learn about some new tool, some new app, or some new website, or some new gadget that is just amazing for a teacher to help teach students in a classroom, or to help students understand content ideas. I mean, there's so many things, and every day there's something new. I don't know how you, as an educational leader, stay on top of these trends. It's challenging for me. But what I will say, and I mentioned it earlier, we need to be aware of what these things are. Some of them are going to be critical. Some of these tools are going to be necessary to maintain relevance as an educational institution. And if we're going to remain competitive as schools and provide competitive students, we need to understand what these tools are and be aware of them. Again, they're not all relevant. Find someone to help you sift through all the different ideas and bring the best ideas to your teachers and give them the ability to keep learning about these new tools. That at some point they need to be trained, they need to understand. Now, a year ago, 2011, the big show in Las Vegas every year is called the Computer Electronics Show. This is where your hardware, software, all your vendors get together and talk about the latest and greatest technology innovations. And in 2011, the big trend was in tablet computing. Obviously, iPad, Apple owns that market. I own an iPad myself. It's an amazing tool. It's beyond words. And it's a wonderful learning tool. Now, a lot of schools come to me and say, tell me about these amazing tools. We hear about these one-to-one environments, and we really want to go there. And my response to them is absolutely. As part of your plan, you should be thinking about a one-to-one environment at some point in time. However, that should not be step one. That is not step one. It should be step 5 or 6 or 10. You need to really put that one-to-one timeline together, and we think it's 3 to 4 years. And we could demonstrate with many school customers that we work with that a 3 to 4 year timeline is ideal to make sure that everyone is ready for this. I will say this, the one-to-one iPad model is alive and well, but it has slowed down. Since 2011, this latest 2012 CES, tablets were not as big of a thing. But I will say at this point in time, the iPad really dominates that market. If you're interested in Android, the ASUS ePad Transformer is probably the tool for you. Again, it's a similar but different tool. Your smartphones are becoming better. Now, one of the things, we feel right now the perfect tool has not yet been developed. And if you were to really, put me in a corner and say, Ernie, I need an answer, what is the way to go with right now? My suggestion is laptops. I still think right now laptops are the way to go. You could get a very high quality laptop, good battery life, lots of storage, wireless connectivity, lightweight, ruggedized with a warranty, and it has a keyboard. And it accesses all the applications and tools that you need for us as a school. Now, very close behind that would be the netbook, which is not quite as capable, but does a lot of what you need as a school. Now, in the future, I see, if you look at the top right corner, the Lenovo iPad Yoga, this is where I see the future. It's a very thin Ultrabook. The screen, there's a keyboard on there, just like a laptop, but the screen flips over backwards so that it comes together and is real thin and lightweight like a tablet. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Someday, a tool like that might be the way to go. Or it might be your iPad or tablet with the really nice keyboard option, which the ASUS and the Apple have. So the reason I don't recommend the Yoga is it's very expensive. If it was half the price, then maybe that's the perfect tool because it does run apps, it runs Windows 8. So things are coming together. Right now, laptops are the way to go. If you're doing a computer lab, desktops are the most cost-effective, and there's a great trend right now in thin client computing. For about under $300 per station, you could have a full Windows environment, mouse, keyboard, flat screen monitor, running high-level applications. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, But again, if you put together your 3 to 4 year plan, all these things fall into place. And our goal is to help you, to partner with you, to make some sense of it all. Because every school I've ever been to has a series of what we call issues. You know, every school has issues. If it's budget issues, enrollments are flat or down. Two of the main critical areas in your technology plan that we help with and that we can really make a difference is working with your teachers and working with your curriculum and helping build in those 21st century skills. Let's talk about teachers for a minute. As we mentioned, it's the fastest growing group of users, adults 36 to 65. You know, that's an amazing opportunity because they're out there using them. You can thank Facebook for that. You know, the research shows that in America, 93 to 96% of classrooms have access to computers with internet. So, you know, 10 years ago, the big debate or the big bottleneck was, you know, computers are expensive. We don't have enough. Well, we're learning that most schools have significant numbers of computers. That's no longer the bottleneck. That's not the holdup. And, you know, 5 years ago, it was teachers, you know, weren't ready. Well, we're finding that teachers are ready. In fact, the research shows that if you train your staff, and the language used in the research is to use simulations and applications, you know, your students will achieve better, higher achieving students. The research shows that. You can't argue. So what is the holdup? Why are we not, you know, putting these pieces together and coming up with a solid plan? Well, part of our goal is to simplify this whole idea for you. And I will say this over and over again, a simple plan is a plan you can easily communicate to your staff, to your families. A simple plan is a plan you will implement. And I say that because so many schools have these really complex technology plans and they never touch it. After it's put together, it sits on a shelf and collects dust because there's just way too much. It's way too expensive, way too complex. Nothing happens. So one of the simple things we've identified, in order for technology to make a difference in your school, your teachers need to have the three C's: confidence, competence, and content. It's that simple. Confidence comes from training. You need to train your people. That's no two ways around it. That should be one of the main aspects of your planning. Competence comes from modeling. Yes, you need, sometimes it's a computer teacher, sometimes it's a master teacher, sometimes it's a technology coordinator, maybe there's some kind of online source, but your teachers in many cases have not seen an integrated, well put together technology lesson and how it should be delivered. They need to model someone. They need to watch an expert so that they have an opportunity for light bulbs to go on. Kind of like student teaching in a way. They need to go back. And then content is that what we call the last mile in education. It's you know, every school has technology, every school has curriculum. A lesson plan that brings the two together effectively, efficiently, in an educationally, pedagogically correct way is critical. And so those three C's, we have models on how to make this happen, but it's that simple. If you have confident teachers that are competent with meaningful lesson plans, now technology makes a difference. And I will say this, a one-day in-service is not your answer. This is not going to happen in a one-day in-service. This will require a 3 to 4 year technology plan. So let's spend a little time on your teachers for a minute, because what we've learned is, you know, if you have 20, 30, 80 teachers, as I mentioned a minute ago, you have 20, 30, 80 different ability levels. This is the challenge. How do you, as the educational leader, trying to start this technology fire at your school to get everyone excited and on board and moving in the right direction, when you have people looking at technology from completely different eyeballs? Now, it's interesting to note that a lot of teachers fall into the millennial category. You know, your younger teachers, you know, fresh out of college, they have all the goals and aspirations, and they're excited and they're, you know, dynamic. They have a lot of confidence, and the research shows that one of their main unique identifiers is the fact that they use technology. They come to school with their iPads. They have their smartphones. You know, they drive a Mini. You know, they're that young, energetic, on-the-go teacher. You know them. You love them. You know, what I find, you know, when we do a technology assessment at a school, which is usually step one when we help a school, we identify what the teachers know, what they don't know, by providing a 100-question assessment that we've developed. And it's amazing. It's a snapshot of what your teachers know. And what we find is that the teachers fall into a bell-shaped curve. And you'll have 10% of your staff, mostly millennials, that are just amazing with technology. We call them rock stars. And the rock stars, they don't need our help. They're going to do this stuff. They're pushing you for more technology. My cautionary note to you is this. Okay, the rock stars, they're pushing this thing. However, what I find is that a lot of rock stars are the ones that are in charge of the technology planning. Now think about this for a minute. If a rock star is in charge of the technology planning, they're going to develop a rock star caliber technology plan. And this bell-shaped curve I mentioned, where you have 10% on the front end, the rock stars, well, don't forget you have another end, the other 10%. Those are those teachers that maybe are never going to come around. And I'm not going to group them by generation, but because that varies. But some teachers just aren't on board with technology. And then there's that group in the middle. It's about 80% of your staff that are sitting there going, okay, I'm concerned, but if it's brought to me on a silver platter, if it's made to be convenient for me, I'm on board. But, if the rock star can't create a rock star plan, because it'll alienate the other 90% of your staff. So be aware that rock stars should be part of the planning, but to make sure you have a balanced approach, to make sure everyone is represented and everyone's comfort level is part of the reality, because I've seen teachers that are, frankly, they're afraid. Now, what I do notice, if you look at Generation X, they also acknowledge technology use as part of their skill set. That's part of their unique identifiers. So you also have a large population of baby boomers in your teaching staff. And if you look at that, technology isn't on their list at all. However, they have a very strong work ethic. How do we find a way to get all these people working together? Give everyone their role. First of all, you need to find out, generation is just one way to look at them. The assessment that we use gets a little more detailed. What are the skill levels of your teachers, and how can we get them all to a minimum level before we really start stacking on devices, before we really start stacking on requirements of their time for technology? There's a way to do that. The plan will provide for all of that. The other part of the plan is talking about your curriculum. Now, this is a touchy subject sometimes for schools. Our suggestion is not for you to just throw out your curriculum and start over from scratch and have a technology model. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, let's take a look at how you do things. How are you collecting information? How are you demonstrating information? How are you presenting information? And how can we bring technology into that environment and start just sharing ideas and demonstrating uses of the technology within the curriculum? That's what I'm talking about. And the interesting thing to note, and I had a teacher get very upset at me one time for saying this, but we're a testing environment. K-12 education, we test. That's what we do. It's not going to go away anytime soon. But if you really drill down, and the research backs me up on this, a lot of the skills that we are measuring are skills that we can outsource. In fact, skills that we are outsourcing to places like China, places like India, that are doing these things cheaper in big factories, big warehouses of people. So the fact of the matter, what are we really preparing our students for? If they're doing really good on tests and they're really smart in their content areas, and they're really high values, and they believe in what you believe in as an institution, are we preparing them to be really high quality burger flippers? Or are we really giving them the skills to be productive and successful in this new economy? This is where we need to spend a lot of time as stewards of these students. How are we preparing them for this future that we don't even know what it's going to be like, but we know it's going to be different? Walk down this path with me for a moment. This was information from 2009. And see if you can follow me on my thought process here. These were this is a subset of the fastest growing jobs in 2009. And take a look at this list of careers, and notice that most of them require high levels of technology use, complex problem solving, collaboration, higher order thinking skills. And just think of the technical requirements required to do these jobs. And it's pretty high. Now go back 10 years, go back to 1999. And if you look at a similar list, go back to 1989, look at the fastest growing jobs, and go back to 1979. What you will notice very clearly is every 10-year juncture, the requirement for complex problem solving, managing complexity, higher order thinking skills, use of technology and applications increased tremendously every 10 years. So if you look at those data points, and if you envision what 2019 is going to be like, do you think that those data points are going to start going down? Do you think the need for technology and application use and complex management and higher order thinking skills and all those, do you think that's going to go down or go up? Well, you know what it's going to have. It's going to go up. It's going to continue to go up for as long as we can see. It's how are we preparing our kids for that? It's this this bullseye in the future that's constantly moving, but the requirements are increasingly going up. And this is where we feel, as a country, as educational institutions, this is where we can really start turning things around. Getting technology integrated into our schools in a meaningful way. I'm not talking about playing games. I'm not talking about just having wireless campuses, but really using the technology for problem solving within the curriculum. This is not impossible. It's very possible, in fact, and it's becoming more and more critical. A report that was done by IBM, and this was from 2010, questions were asked of CEOs from around the globe. What are the skill sets that are required of students? What should we be training them on today to prepare them for the future? Very interesting information in this report. I broke it into one slide, and I think you'll understand this. But first of all, remember back in the 80s when IBM pretty much owned technology? In fact, IBM invented the PC. So, they know something about computers and computing. They were there at the very beginning. And if you remember in the 80s, IBM, the mentality, their look, they were mostly males, dark navy suits, dark ties, black wingtips. And they all looked alike. That was their how they portrayed themselves. Now look what IBM is saying today. Look at this left box. Students need to embody creative leadership. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, they need to take risks that disrupt legacy business models. Excuse me? IBM is saying this. They're saying that students need to leapfrog beyond tried and true management styles. What they are saying is that today, students need to think different, look outside of the box, be creative. This is fascinating to me because that's 180 degrees different from IBM's message in the 80s. Now, what I also think about is that's the kid that's always getting in trouble. That's the kid that won't sit in the seat, that doesn't feel he's challenged or she's challenged, and in fact, that is a leadership quality. How do we embrace that? How do we focus that quality into a productive trajectory? That is our goal as educators. The middle box is interesting, reinventing customer relationships. What they're saying is this whole social networking thing is not going to stop. It's just going to continue to be part of our lives. No longer are companies trying to buy commercial time on the Super Bowl. The goal today is for those companies to get into your inbox, for you to join their Twitter feed, for you to like their Facebook page. They're coming straight at you into the palm of your hand. The whole marketing, consumer and company dynamic is changing tremendously. Now, the third box, probably the most fascinating, in my opinion, of the entire process. What they basically boil down to is that we live in a very complex world that is only going to get more complex. How are we providing these skill sets to our students? How are we going beyond just teaching content and providing skills and life skills that will provide them with opportunities in the future? Teaching the standards is no longer enough. We need to be looking at other things. So how do you do that? What is your plan? What is your strategy? Where do you go? Well, a lot of schools talk to us. They partner with us. They get ideas from us. If you just look at the ideas I'm sharing with you today and use these ideas as part of your planning, that's great. That puts you leaps and bounds ahead of most, because some of the things that we've learned over 20 years, we consider them ultimate truths when it comes to integrating technology. Read this quote real quick from Steve Jobs. Simple can be harder than complex. And I'll tell you that this whole technology planning idea, yes, it can be very complex. Trust me, I've been living it for 20 years. But, when you do something often enough, you start seeing some consistencies. You start seeing some ultimate truths, I like to call them. Some areas that just are tried and true. And so what we've done is we've created this model. We like to consider it a simple model. We've been using this and applying this model in several different environments, K-12 education for over 20 years. And our goal at the end of the day is to help you develop an effective and systematic technology integration solution using what we've learned are the ultimate truths on technology integration. Now what we did, again, we didn't come at this just randomly. We focused on technology plans around the globe, and we really learned, early on we learned that most technology planning focused on stuff and completely forgot about staff. And that's the big problem. In fact, most of the plans we studied spent so much time on stuff, that they set up these amazing high-tech environments, and guess what? They became obsolete. What did they do? They went and bought more technology, more stuff. Nothing improved. Nothing got better. But there was a small percentage of schools, schools of tomorrow, 21st century learning schools. There's a lot of different names for them. But we focused and studied on these schools because they did great things with technology. Technology made the school environment better. Higher achieving students, more productive teachers, just schools were growing, parents were happy, they were prepared better for college, they went on to have meaningful careers, and were just great learners. And so what did these great schools do? What made them different from all the rest? Well, obviously, this is where we spent a lot of our time. What are these secret ingredients? And it's not rocket science, but you need to make sure that these are major parts of your technology plan. And I'll start with number one. Assessing, training, and supporting teachers is one of the biggest factors of this whole thing. And I'll tell you why. Your teachers are the ones in charge of delivering content to students. They know the students the best. They know the curriculum the best. The goal is really for them to be on board with technology. And so I'm not saying that you need to make them in charge. I'm not telling you they need to be responsible for this whole technology planning thing. But what I am saying is that they need to be part of the conversation. They need to be involved with the process, and they need to be embraced. And again, bring it to them on a silver platter, do all the heavy lifting, but teachers need to be part of the conversation, not just the rock stars, but everybody. And we have plans to do this, but I will tell you, I've been to so many schools that have really been talking one-to-one, and many teachers are afraid of that idea without this in place. You need to train them and support them, get them to a point where they're confident, and then drop the devices on them. And that's usually a 2 to 3 to 4 year timeline. The second thing we learned, you need to train your students. Now, this is the easiest part of the whole process, but your students do not know it all. They know how to update their Facebook status. They know how to take and send photos to each other and, update their Pinterest file account. They need to, they know all these gadget things, but do they understand spreadsheets and databases and research and how to make a really powerful presentation? Probably not. This is where we need to really level out our skill set for students. And there's a big debate. Do we teach technology as a subject, or do we just integrate it into content? Well, yes and yes. I think you need to do a two-pronged approach. And there's ways to do that, but at some point, students need to be taught and shown and demonstrated on what's expected of them. Just like, the example we've used forever, we teach them penmanship before they get into writing and keyboarding. It's the same thing. You need to teach them basic skills first. which sets up number 3, integrating technology into your classroom curriculum. Now, notice I didn't say download technology off the internet into your curriculum, or I didn't say buy computer games that coincide with what you're teaching in the classroom curriculum. No, what I am saying is address the lesson plans that your teachers are using today. Enhance those lessons with technology. You will get much better results than something new. It's not about bringing new ideas to your teachers. It's about bringing new ideas into what they're currently teaching, integrating technology into their lesson plans. This framework for success is what we build on. Training teachers, training students, integrating in the curriculum. And it happens at different levels or different speeds over a 3 to 4 year timeline. Now, when you do this, you should be embracing educational principles. There are standards. ISTE developed the NET standards. Now, if you look at the NET's document, it's vast, it's wide, it's a lot of information. At the end of the day, there's 10 major categories that we focus on, and those are the categories that we train teachers on. Now, those same 10 categories minus integration, so those same 9 categories are what we train students in. And again, there's a lot of subcategories, but this is just, again, part of the simple plan we're talking about. Simple is easy to communicate. Simple is easy to implement. Those are the same 10 areas that we then, or those are the same 9 areas then we integrate into your lesson plans. So if you train teachers in these tools, train your students in the same tools, and then integrate those tools into your lesson plans, we're all kind of on the same page, all the different levels. And again, there's some make sense ideas here that hopefully some light bulbs are going on right now, but this makes sense, and it makes your life a lot easier when you have some similarities and consistency rather than being shotgun approach across the board. Now, I mentioned to you earlier, one of our key principles, part of this simple plan, is your teachers must possess the 3 C's. Confidence, competence, content. No way around this. Confidence comes from training. Again, a one-day in-service is not your answer. Competence comes from modeling, watching someone do this, and content is the process of redeveloping a current lesson plan, a lesson that they know that's effective. Let's make it better, if possible, with technology. If it's not possible, then don't use the technology. You only use it when it's going to improve things. When you do that, you now have the opportunity to create these amazing project-based, complex problem-solving, enriched, collaborative projects that provide for creative thinking, and this is where your students can now not just learn the content, but demonstrate this while providing their or improving their 2.0 Web 2.0 skill set and their 21st century learning skills. All these things can be woven into this content integration idea. It's beautiful, and someone demonstrates this, and over time your teachers will come on board. But when you do this over a 3-year period, you know, you're allowing the curriculum to drive your technology purchases. And again, back to this simple planning idea. You know, this is an organic approach. You're not building it and hoping they will come. That doesn't work. I could show you many schools where that model failed. This has you bring it in slowly but surely. You train your people, you train your students, you integrate your curriculum, all the while you address your infrastructure needs, and at some point, everyone's ready for the next step. Everyone's ready to get to where they need to go. Now, I'll tell you, this doesn't happen just by chance. There needs to be a little work put into this plan. But I will tell you, you know, an easy plan is a plan that you could easily demonstrate and share with your faculty, and you could easily communicate it to your parents, and you will implement a simple plan. You know, a complex plan sits on a shelf. A simple plan is easy to get going. So that's what we help you with. Now imagine tomorrow morning you woke up, you walked into your garage, and parked in your garage was this brand new Ferrari. It's red, it's a convertible, it's beautiful. Now imagine that you open your garage door and there's no road. In fact, you don't even know how to drive and there's no gas in the car. How practical is that Ferrari? Not that it ever was practical, but it's now even less practical. You might be able to open the door. Yeah, you know how to do that. You could probably sit down and you could probably turn on the radio. That's about it. And I use this analogy because this is what I see happening at schools across America. They go all in on stuff. They go all in on a one-to-one technology environment. And, they have these wireless campuses, or they have these beautiful rolling carts of laptops, or a lab with those amazing machines and all these drops and all the classrooms and wireless, and they're doing really cool keyboarding. Or they're playing games on the internet. Or they're playing some kind of game software. Your kids don't need your help how to play games. I'm telling you, there's some nice ones, but there's so much that can be done with this technology, and it's being underutilized, and it happens every day because there's not a plan. So what we do is we come in and we build the road. We teach you how to drive. We put gas in the car, and together we're going to create a map to get you where you want to go, and that map can change. We might decide we want to go somewhere different, but it doesn't matter because now the roads are built and you know how to drive and there's gas. We could go other places. The fact of the matter is technology is changing so fast. We need to get the training wheels off and we need to start learning how to use this stuff and be ready for the future because there's going to be more and more and more and more. There's so many amazing things that people are inventing today that we'll know about next year that are going to be really important in 3 years from now. You need to get on that moving train at some point in time and make this thing start. Here's how we can help. I mentioned training teachers. We have a course. We partner with Point Loma University. They're in San Diego, California. Amazing, beautiful university on a cliff overlooking the Pacific. And they've endorsed this course. It's a college-level course that we actually bring to your school. We either provide the trainers that will come and do it for you, or we'll train one of your people to do it. Or we'll work with a group of schools in your association and work together on this. But the fact of the matter is that teachers need to have basic understanding of technology. This course, which is called Beyond Technology Basics for Teachers, does that. It provides training on all 10 technology areas that we shared with you and how those tools can be used in the classroom. It's a 30-hour course, and it happens over 10 meetings, and each of those meetings is 3 hours long. And it happens at your school. And it can be delivered over a school year or over 2 school years. As I mentioned earlier, part of step one of our partnership with the school is to provide a technology assessment for your staff. The assessment will allow us to find out what level your teachers are at, and we could deliver this course in different levels. So we'll have one version for the basic level teachers, and we could have another version for your rock stars or your higher level, and maybe one in the middle. All depends on the size of your staff. We recommend no more than 15 teachers per group. If we could get it down to 10, even better. And then we can kind of break it up. If you have just 15 teachers, then we'll do them all together. Our trainers are trained on how to differentiate it based on your teacher's needs. But the nice part, because Point Loma certifies this, there are 2 600 series credits available to your teachers. So again, we're trying to bring this to your teachers on a silver platter, make it easy for them. It's teacher-specific training. It's done at your school. There's college credit available for it, and our trainers bring candy. So we really try to stack the odds in our favor. But it's that foundational course, and without a strong foundation, if you've ever built anything, if you don't have a strong foundation, the top gets shaky. So this is designed to make sure the rest of the plan comes into place. Now the second level is training your students. Now we have K-8 curriculum, and we have high school curriculum. Let's talk about K-8 for a moment. We've developed what I feel is the greatest computer curriculum on the planet to train students in the basic skills while preparing them for an integrated lesson in their classroom. So the curriculum basically covers all the 9 major technology areas. It's project-based. We actually work around themes, so we don't just say today's spreadsheet day, but we work around themes like goals, etiquette, manners, responsibility, and choices. And for those kids that are really advanced, there's ways to really get this extended for them to really challenge them. And at the end of the day, there are no games. They're using things like Microsoft Office or iWorks or Google Docs, whatever. You need a suite of applications in there somewhere, and then we supplement that with some of the Web 2.0 tools available online. But the fact of the matter is it's project-based, hands-on. Now, we make a couple assumptions here. It assumes you have a computer teacher, someone to deliver this, because when the students are in there, this is when their teacher comes with them, the modeling opportunity we talk about, that competence part. Having an expert to showcase how a lesson should be delivered is very important. It also assumes you have a computer lab and one computer per student. To start with, that's all you need. A lot of people are getting rid of labs. That's okay. If that's part of your 3 to 4 year plan, we'll help you get rid of your lab. But we think in the beginning it's a great place to start. And some schools keep a lab. We could talk about different philosophies there. Let me give you a sample. This is a model. Our model is very flexible. This is one example. We call it the 5-3-1 curriculum integration model. And if you notice, this also assumes a 36-week school year and a 9-week quarter. So if you look at quarter 1, this is for K through 8. The focus is on word processing and keyboarding. Unit 2, the focus is spreadsheets and databases. Unit 3, multimedia and keyboarding. Unit 4 is desktop publishing. All 4 units cover internet skills, operating system skills, basic computer skills, and graphics. So in one school year, at every grade level, the students access all 9 technology areas. So we're not just doing one skill in one grade and another skill. We're starting all the skills in kindergarten, even spreadsheets. In kindergarten, your students understand rows and columns, like hopscotch. In first grade, they can start adding bear clothes. There's different ways to get them on board. But by the time they're in 8th grade, they're doing very complex spreadsheet skills, but based on a scope and sequence, a spiraling curriculum, a very educationally sound approach. We start teaching all 9 technology areas in kindergarten, and each grade level, they go more and more up, they spiral up in the learning objective curve. So your students can do this. It's all project-based. It's enjoyable. Again, we could do this with Macs, PCs. We have a school doing Chromebooks, iPads. There's different ways to make this happen. So for the way the model works, for 5 weeks, your students come to a computer lab. In some cases, the computer lab comes to the classroom, but it's a computer lab environment. There's a teacher demonstrating, and it's about 45 or 50 minutes one time per week. That's all you really need to make this work. And the students go through a project, their grade level, teaching them the skills that are appropriate for them. Now, the classroom teachers, they're watching. The classroom teacher is the assistant to the computer teacher, making sure everything goes smoothly. And again, if you have up to 30 students in a class, now you have 2 adults, 15-to-1 ratio, perfect model. Now, during that 5 weeks, we are sending an integration specialist to meet with each of your teachers, because every one of your students is coming to a 45 or 50-minute class for one time per week for 5 weeks. So our integration specialist will now meet with your teachers all either live or using Skype or GoToMeeting, some web tool, but talking to them and saying or asking the question, what are you teaching in your classroom weeks 6, 7, and 8? And we learn, because we tell them we're teaching this set of word processing skills, and now I like to weave those skills into a classroom project. And your teachers, kindergarten will say, we're teaching seasons. 3rd grade might say, we're teaching the solar system. 5th grade might say we're teaching state history. 8th grade might say, we're teaching European explorers. Whatever it is, we get the lesson plan idea. We sit down with the teacher. Show me your lesson plan. Show me the standards you're trying to accomplish. What are the goals and objectives of the lesson plan? What are your school's ESLers? Let's take all that information into account. We'll look at the teacher's assessment results to know their level, and we'll look at what is the environment available. Are there digital whiteboards? Do you have discovery streaming? Do you have response systems? What do you have available? And we'll weave all that into a project. So week 6, when the students come to the computer lab, it's no longer beyond technology curriculum. They're now accessing a teacher-created integrated project. We spent 4 to 10 hours developing that project, but your teacher spent about 30 to 50 minutes with us talking about it. So now week 6, your classroom teacher's watching their lesson being demonstrated to them, being delivered for them by the computer teacher for 3 weeks, weeks 6, 7, and 8. So the teacher now, not only was it their lesson plan, not only were they part of the development, although it was just for part of it, but now they're actually watching it be delivered. So next year, when it comes to teaching that subject, they have that project. So week 9 is an assessment to find out how good we did. Unit 2, we do it again. It's a new unit, spreadsheets and databases. Your students are learning another project. In this case, this model is financial responsibility is the theme. The themes change, obviously. And we meet with your teachers a second time. And we say, hey, teachers, you saw what happened that last quarter. This quarter, we're going to do a whole other set of projects. I need 9 more ideas from you different grade level teachers. So we'll spend another 30 minutes with all the teachers by grade level, get another classroom content idea, and we'll develop another 3-week integrated project. And so your teachers come to the lab, watch another one of their lessons being delivered with technology. Now they're starting to get it. Light bulbs are going on. Okay, now I understand my role. Unit 3, we do it again. Unit 4, we do it again. So in one school year, 3, 6, 9, 12 weeks of the computer lab time is actual classroom time for every grade level. In this model, 9 grades, K through 8. So that's a lot of content we're developing. Now, if you remember, our recommendation is we partner with you for 3 years. So we do this again next year, and we do this again the year after that. And for some schools, we're going to do it a 4th year. But if we're doing a 3-year partnership, and we're doing 3, 6, 9, 12 weeks of custom content for every grade per year, in 3 years, that's 12, 24, 36 weeks of custom content for every grade K through 8. Now, follow me for a moment on this. Think about it. So over a 3-year period, every one of your teachers would have went to the 30-hour professional development course. Every one of your teachers would have come with their classroom every week for 3 years to a computer class. So they've been watching and modeling and learning how these things work. They watched 36 weeks of their curriculum introduced with technology built in. The confidence, the competence, and the content are all at a whole different level. Now your teachers are ready for whatever you want to throw at them. Is it mobile carts? Is it the one-to-one dream you've been having? Is it thin clients in every classroom? Is it, who knows what it is? Is it some technology that hasn't been invented yet? Is it some kind of blended learning environment? Is it some kind of flipped classroom? I don't know. But what I do know is that you have created an environment where you can do anything. Your teachers are ready for anything. Your students are ready for anything. Your curriculum has been adapted, and there's so many opportunities available for you. Confidence, competence, content, check, check, check. You are now a technology school ready for the next level, and students are learning better. Teachers are learning better, and you are preparing your students for the 21st century skills that they need. Now, part of our success is we start. The kids get so advanced, we develop some advanced curriculums. Snapshot of the World is a social studies curriculum which highlights Photoshop elements. Students actually travel the globe and create a digital travel magazine. We do that in 6th grade usually. And then for high school, we have a class called CEO Challenge. It's developed as a semester course, but it can be done over a quarter or a weekly class. But it's all the tools to help to teach a student how to start up a company using either Office, iWorks, Google Docs. It gets them all those tools to be successful, all the 9 major technology tools. But the kids get to create a company. They start out by identifying a business, something they're interested in. They then have to do some research on that business. They're excited about it because it's something they love, like skateboard shops or basketball training or what about bakeries? I've seen lots of different things. But all the steps to start up a company. They develop a logo. They make business cards. They do a letter to the bank. They do a budget. They track a stock on the internet of a similar company. And the end result is they have a presentation. And this is where we invite you to invite the community to see what your kids are doing. Get the school board involved. Invite the mayor, the Chamber of Commerce, parents. These presentations are first class, and it's amazing. The kids really do a great job with this. And if you haven't been thinking about the marketing potential of our program, you should be, because it's very visible, very marketable. We help schools become technology leaders in their community, and the community needs to know about that. CEO marketing is semester 2. This is where the kids get into building commercials and billboard ads and magazine ads. And really, the bulk of this is using either iMovie or Movie Maker to build a commercial for their company. Very, very powerful curriculum. In the end result, they do a storyboard, capture video, edit video. Awesome. But at the end of the day, I think the most important part, our biggest role, is the integration. We call it the last mile in education. You have technology, you have curriculum. We're going to bring those roadmaps to you to bring the two together. We do all the heavy lifting. We spend a lot of time on your behalf. Now, 5-10 years ago, teachers really didn't understand or have the ability to integrate lessons. Today, I'm finding some of your rock stars actually have the ability to do this. But now they don't have the time. Do your teachers really have an extra 10 hours, per quarter, 40 hours a year to integrate, lessons. My instructional design team members, they have master's degrees in education, instructional design background. They can look at a lesson plan and quickly come up with some great ideas because they've done thousands of these. So we really bring a high-quality person and plug them into your environment. There's a model I'd like to share with you. We call it the Schoolwide Integration model. Basically, everything we've talked about is provided. I don't like to use the word turnkey, but really all the tools are part of this package. The assessment for your teachers, the professional development is included, that 30-hour Point Loma course. All the curriculum, K-8, K-12, along with those integrated projects, those 3-week projects at the end of each quarter, all that's included. Now, if you're near some of our offices, we could provide a computer teacher, a high-level, credentialed, degreed teacher, or we will train your computer teacher. Or a third option, which isn't on here, if you don't have a teacher, we'll help you find a teacher. We'll give you our job descriptions, and we'll tell you how we find computer teachers to help you do that if you need that, because that's a real important role. That's kind of the person managing this whole thing. Hardware, software, networking, peripherals for your computer lab. If you have 30 students, you need 30 stations. All the peripherals, the digital whiteboard solutions, a color laser printer, the touch board I mentioned, a dot camera, scanners, all of that, including all the maintenance for 3 or 4 years, and all the supplies, ink, paper. Plus, we'll help you market the program. We'll do brochures. We'll help you do videos for your website. We'll help you do a parent night, get your parents excited, and we assign a project manager. So nothing falls through the cracks. Everything that we tell you we're going to do, we accomplish and then some. It's a beautiful model. I have many, many schools that use this. It used to be called, I can't even remember the old name, but it's basically an all-inclusive lab is model is what it used to be called. It's an all-inclusive model which covers everything you need. And this helps you manage that 3 to 4 year timeline, and we run everything for you. And if you have IT staff, we plug right in with your current IT staff. Now, again, the goal is to develop this simple, 3 to 4 year technology plan. And I keep telling you, a one-day in-service is not your answer. So look at this. We address training of your staff. We address curriculum for your students. We address integration of your lesson, and we talk about your equipment needs and your infrastructure. And maybe you start with the lab, and then maybe you go to a mobile lab, and then maybe your goal is eventually to have a one-to-one environment. I don't know, but there's lots of options, and we put you in a place to understand what those options are and be ready for those options. Is it going to be iPads for everyone? Is it Chromebooks? iPod Touches I see a lot of. Are you trying to get your school to get involved with online learning or blended school learning? The flipped classroom is getting a lot of mention right now because it's effective. We help you with all that stuff, interactive whiteboards, dot cams. Now let's say you already have all these things. You have a lab, you have all the peripherals, you have teachers, you have IT staff. You're just missing some of the curriculum pieces. Well, we have that available too. We call it Tectonic Learning Systems. We'll train your people, we'll give them materials to do this, and we'll support them. So they get some of our program, but not everything, and then you handle all the rest. And again, we've done it all, we've seen it all. I can't, right now our newest venture is Chromebooks. We're in the process of becoming Chromebook certified. And we have lots and lots of happy customers. And I recommend you let me give you some references, and I'll let you see some people. If you want to come and visit some of the schools we work with, if you're close by, we're mostly in the Southwest. We have a couple schools in Texas and in Indianapolis. We're venturing out all over the country. If there's nothing convenient to you, maybe we invest in some travel time and get you out here. But at the end of the day, we want to partner with you. We want to show you what we're capable of. Please, if you would join our Facebook page, I will put a copy of this video on there. Go to facebook.com/BeyondTech, TECH. Call me or email me. I want to thank our partners, Paragon Micro, who make this possible. And this presentation was done especially for CAPSO members and all those others that were interested in learning more about technology. We thank you for your time, and we hope at some point in time to meet with you and enjoy this model because it's effective and it works. Thank you, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day.